What up? It's your unshowered, unshaven mobile game no-lifer here, and I'm going to break down for you guys currently the deck I have been using that is my favorite deck. Let's get going. Okay, this is kind of a weird deck, and I'm not going to say it's the best deck in the game for sure, but it's definitely a deck that I've been using because it has some combos in it that are kind of crazy that people don't really plan for, and it has a lot of ways to kind of, well, let me just break it down. Let me go piece by piece, okay? So the first one is the Hood. I actually really like the Hood. I think this might be my favorite card in the entire game. It's a 1-drop, but it gives you another 1-drop that's a 1/6, which is just insane value, which means if you have a turn 6 5-drop, you can drop a 6 power 1 plus your 5-drop at the time if you don't have a 6-drop. For instance, I have a 5-drop of Red Skull, so if I get to turn 6 without having my Otron, and we'll talk about why we have these cards in a moment in the deck, then what ends up happening is I can drop my Red Skull plus the Demon on turn 6 if I need to for a total of 21 power on a location. It's a huge spike that people don't see coming. So Deadpool is a really interesting card because it doubles every single time. Now, every time you destroy, I should say. Now, the thing about Deadpool is when you buff the card, that counts as the damage that gets doubled, but it does not count if the damage that, or the power that is boosted is from like the location. Like cards here get +5 power, things like that. That doesn't work. So it's not going to go from 6 to 12. It will go from 1 to 2. But if you buff the card itself, with some of the other cards that we have in the deck, for instance, let's use the example. What's a good example for this one? I guess probably like Khazar, okay? You buff it with a card like this one, then it does actually double the power. Here is one such example. This just had 1 life, just 1 power, I should say, and it got doubled because it was destroyed by the Killmonger from my opponent here. So now what I can do is I can play the Deadpool here, and this is 2. And I could play this Deathlock here, and I can destroy it again, and it will become a 4. Or what I can do is I can destroy over here this card, which will buff this card to become a 3, and then next time I destroy it, it will become a 6, for instance. So that's how it works, okay? For that reason, you're going to start to know this as I explain the rest of the cards in this deck, why we're using Deadpool so much in this deck. So here you go. They play a card, making all my cards cost 4 next turn. There you go. He destroys that card from me. There's my Deadpool. Now I destroy my Deadpool. And now what I have is a 4-drop Deadpool because the next turn is 4. But look at that. Now it is a 4. So we can play that, destroy it again. It would be 8, then 16, etc. So that's, you're going to start to understand the rest of the deck as we get going. And see, we just pulled a Carnage there, you see? So what this means is if this was actually turn 5, I could do Deadpool, Carnage, destroy him, he would be an 8-drop next turn. Then next turn I could drop the Red Skull plus the Deadpool, and we would have a 23-drop on turn 6. So back to explaining the deck. The reason I wanted to explain Deadpool is because he's kind of the crucial point of this deck. So we have this card in here in order to, Nova is actually in here in order to buff Deadpool, but he's also in here because he combos very well with Otron as well as Khazar. Otron, what he does is as a 6-drop, he's going to fill up the rest of the boards. That's not the location you play him with just 1-drops, which what that means is you can pair that with this card to buff those if you're able to get the Otron out of your hand early. So if there's an Elysium or something like that, you can get the Otron out early, and then you have the potential to buff it. It doesn't happen too often, but it does have some synergy as well as the Deadpool synergy in there as well. Now, Khazar is used because you play this before you play Otron, so when you play Otron, you're effectively adding 6 power to every location because this gives 1 power. The Otron bots are 1 for 1, and they're 1-drops, which means this actually buffs the Otron, so it can be quite good. The Red Skull is in here for the reasons I mentioned about dropping it paired with the Demon, as well as it's just a big flat power block, which I like this quite often. I'll just drop it on one location where no one has anything, or if there's the location that ongoing effects are disabled, he can be quite good as well because you can read the ongoing effect of him buffing the enemies. Now, there's a couple other pieces in here that are going to be fairly obvious, like Bucky Barnes. We obviously want to be able to destroy the Hood because he's -2. We want to be able to destroy Deadpool, and we want to be able to destroy Nova because they're all buffing and they do things when they're destroyed. So Bucky Barnes is going to be another card that's going to allow us to have more destruction synergy. And then obviously with that, we're going to have things like Carnage. So if we have a turn 4, Bucky Barnes into Carnage, for instance, can give you a total of 10 power on the location, or if it's turn 5, what you can do is you can actually drop Deathlock in order to destroy that card as well. So we have 2 cards to do destruction. We have Deathlock as well as Carnage, and these are going to be your 2 cards that are going to trigger the effects from the other cards. This means that effectively you really do need to pull Carnage or Deathlock in your hand. So for that reason, you could replace Otron with American Chavez. So that way you don't pull a 6-drop early. That is one such option that would be available for this, okay? Now, the other cards we have in here is Killmonger. This is another way to destroy Deadpool. It would destroy the Hood, and it would destroy Nova. So this is another way to be able to trigger these things. The other problem is Bucky Barnes is a 2-drop, so it doesn't get destroyed by Killmonger, okay? Same with Sabretooth. This is probably the weakest card in the deck for me. When it's destroyed, returns to your hand, it costs 0, so that way you can move this to a different location. This is only really in here to trick up the opponent, so when I destroy a location, that I can move some power around if I need to. The cool thing about this build is very often you're going to be stacked on one location, you're going to destroy it all, then move to another location. You can kind of trick some people up that way. This is definitely the weakest card that could be subbed out for something else in this deck. We've already gone over why we have Deathlock and Carnage. It's the same reason. This effectively allows you on turn 3, if you played the Hood into Bucky Barnes, into Deathlock, is an extremely strong opener that will give you 11 power on a certain location, as well as a 1-drop in your hand that gives you 6 points. So by turn 4, you can have on one location, you could drop the Khazar, buffing all your 1-drops. You could drop your Bucky, which turns into a Winter Soldier with Deathlock. So that's 11 plus the 4. You're talking 15 power. Then you can play your Demon, which would be 6 plus 1 because of the Khazar. And we're talking a total of, wow, what would they even be? I lost my math here. Bucky Barnes is, okay, 11. We would have 11. We would have the Khazar, which would buff for 7 more, so 18 plus 4. We're talking 22. 22 power on turn 4 for one location, which locks it out, which means on turn 5, you can then drop the Red Skull 15 in another location. Very strong combo, very hard to beat. The Shang-Chi in here is fantastic card. I want this in almost every single one of my decks because we are playing a lot of smaller drops. So if the combos don't quite work out, this is a get out of jail free card that allows us to destroy their big nukes. If they play something like, let's say they have the one where you get a 0-drop location that gives you it's a 6-drop for cost of 0 if you fill it first. If they manage to fill it first or something like that, if they're playing a Red Skull as well, if they have any card that continually be buffed, even if they're playing Deadpool, Shang-Chi can be a good counter to anything that's a big meta block of power that you need to be able to get rid of. So this is sort of a get out of jail free card. That's how I see that one, okay? So that explains all the cards. Let me show you some gameplay now, a full match. So we're going to go in and we're going to queue. Okay, here we go, game number 1. So we're going to be opening either with Deadpool, Hood, or Nova. We have 3 of these drops, okay? Typically in this situation, what I would like to do is I would like to play Deadpool first because I would like to have the opportunity if Carnage shows up to be able to crunch my Deadpool. I'm going to snap just because I'm a menace and I need to reclimb back through the ranks as I'm low rank right now. So we just dropped the Deadpool. Here we go. See, there we go. That's why we did it, because now we have Carnage. But here's the thing. We could gamble at this point and go Nova into Hood, because on this location, what it's going to allow us to do is play another copy. So if we go Nova and Hood here, we're going to get, hopefully, one of those will land here, and we can deal with the other ones landing somewhere else. This also gives us a 1-drop for next turn, because there's a 3, it'll be 3 power total, so we can drop Carnage here, as well as the 1-drop from the Demon. So that's what our move is going to be here. They're going to play, they're going to play Angela when you get a card here, +1. That's a cool variant, actually. There, so worst case scenario, they both played on the wrong side, but now you can see we have the double demons in our hand. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to play Carnage here, and hopefully the Carnage either goes there or there. It doesn't matter too much to me which one it goes to, but we're going to play the Carnage first, and then we're going to play the demon. That way the Carnage, if it does go here, doesn't destroy our demon as we are playing the Carnage first. Turn order actually matters in this game. Keep that in mind. So here we go. It's going to destroy those cards. Now we're going to see the buff. See, there's the Deadpool buff, you see? Now, if the Carnage goes there, which it does, and here's the other cool thing about Sinister London, is Carnage actually carries over the power after it crunches to the next location. So you can see we got 8 there, then 12 there, and we're already very ahead on power. So now we know we're not going to be destroying anything here at this point, because we have a 6-drop demon. So what we actually want to do at this point is I'm going to drop the Khazar in the middle, which gives all of our 1-drops +1. So now both of these here are going to be receiving +1 twice, because we're going to get another copy elsewhere, which is going to increase this to 4 more, so it's going to be 13 total power. And if we drop another 4-drop here, if this actually goes there, we could be at 17 power on that location already. So you can see how the power really starts to swing fairly quickly. Now he's trying to figure out what to do. At this point, if I was him, I would even be considered retreating. We have a near unstoppable presence that is pushing forward in this match at the moment. He's taking a moment to really decide what he's going to do. I'm going to give him the old snap fingers, the old fist bump, the old point at him like, hey, snap, I want your cubes, please, sir, or sirette. And we are waiting to see what this person's going to play. So they play 2 on the right-hand side. That is an interesting decision. This goes on the right-hand side, which means that we keep our field nice and open. Pretty good. And I mean, this is going to be difficult to play. He plays Carnage as well. Okay, so he plays Carnage. Aw, snap, you've encountered an error. I know what the error is. We're winning too hard, and the computer doesn't like it. Let's see if we can catch back up to the changes. There we go. He played the Carnage. It is now turn 5. So at this point, we have the 5 drop. We have some decisions to make. We could play the Demon. We could play Barnes. It's going to be 7 power total, 2 locations. However, I'm just going to play the Red Skull. I think the Red Skull is a strong drop. We're just pushing power. Yes, he has cards at different locations. You know what? I messed up by playing this on the wrong one. I forgot the swaps. I didn't even know this. So that was me being monkey brain there at the moment. What I'm actually going to do then is I can't play Otron here because it's going to do the power first and fill up all the other locations. So what I need to do, well, I could play 6. So I think what we'll do actually in this location, what do we need to win the most? We probably need to win this one the most at the moment. This is actually fairly difficult for us because of the mistake I made in the previous hand. What we need to do is win this one. So if we have to place this here because we already won the middle one, probably. If we place this right, it's going to place the 1-drop minions first, and there'll be no room for Otron to be placed anywhere. So we have to place it left and hope he doesn't place left. So here he goes. He drops 2. He plays Collector in the middle, which shouldn't be enough to beat us. He plays the 4-drop on the right. Okay. Oh, he gained a bunch of cards with Moon Girl, actually, because of the Moon Girl combo with Devilsaur. Very smart combo. But then there we go, the Otrons. Now, you see how each of these Otron drones are going to have +3. That's because we have 2 Khazars from duplicating them, and there we actually win a somewhat scary match on the end. So that is that was a pretty good example match, I'll be honest. I even made some mistakes, but we got to showcase the deck. I really like this deck. It will be in the pinned comment. You are welcome to copy it if you would like. There's a few changes you could make. I'm still somewhat learning the game, but I thought I would share this deck with you. Please do consider subscribing or liking the video. Brand new channel. I love the game, and I would love to have your views.